I made this video because I believe I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who knows what it's like to feel trapped in a prison of my own making, living day-to-day life entirely dependent upon alcohol. This is Second Act Recovery, and I'm Dr. Donald Crow. I practiced medicine for 40 years, but perhaps more importantly for our conversation today, I've now been sober for the last 28 years. I've enjoyed a second act of my life where I am more at peace and living more effectively than I ever dreamed was possible during my drinking. The growth of this channel is testimony to the fact that I am not alone, and your feedback that you have shared regarding your sobriety journey is very gratifying. However, and this is important, I read other comments, and many people comment that for them, alcohol still has value. They tell me that it adds to their life in ways that makes giving it up seem unnecessary or even impossible. They don't want to buy what I'm selling. And that causes me to reflect. My purpose here is never to sell sobriety to those that aren't in the market for it. If you are happy with your relationship with alcohol, I respect that. But today, in a sincere attempt to give equal time to the alcohol users in the audience, I want to talk about the why. I want to validate the reasons you drink. Because contrary to what you might hear in other recovery circles, I believe the reasons are valid. Let's look at the most cited reasons people drink. When I catalog these, I don't see these as excuses. I see them as attempts to manage the human condition. The first, and perhaps most common, is relaxation. Life is hard. The days are long. Alcohol helps many of you set the worries of the day on the back burner. It signals a transition from work mode to rest mode. A corollary to this, and it's a big one, is anxiety. For many, alcohol feels like medicine that quells that rising tide of panic. It helps you feel as though you've pulled back from the edge when anxiety threatens to overwhelm you. And for anxiety's first cousin, depression, the same often holds true. It provides a brief respite from the darkness. Then there is the void, the boredom, the loneliness. Alcohol fills those empty moments. It acts as a manufactured distraction or even entertainment. When you're sitting there thinking, what do I do now? Alcohol provides an answer. For the lonely, it provides a reliable companion. The sense of being alone is diminished after a few drinks. We also have to acknowledge the external factors. Alcohol allows us to fit in. It is the grease in the gears of our social circles. It promises closeness and forged bonds. In professional settings, many of you have pointed out that not drinking sets you apart in ways that might actually limit your career opportunities. It is pervasive across all strata of our society. And finally, many of you simply don't see the consequences yet. You look at your health, your legal standing, your relationships, your career, and you say, I'm fine. Maybe your spouse drinks with you, and that's something you share, a perceived benefit to the relationship. And here's the twist you might not expect from a man who's been sober for nearly 3 decades. I drank for exactly those same reasons, and probably a few more. The bottom line is this. I continued to drink for years because it worked. It helped me with my sensitive nature. It soothed my anxiety, my boredom, my loneliness. It helped me fit in. Alcohol rode shotgun with me throughout my 20s and 30s. Some of my happiest moments from that time involve alcohol. I used it as a tool to get what I wanted, comfort, connection, relief. So if you're drinking for those reasons, I want you to know I get it. I'm not here to judge you. Your reasons are rational. You are using a tool that works until it doesn't. The problem for me wasn't the reasons that I drank. The problem was my biochemistry. My degree is in medicine, so I tend to look at things through a scientific lens. I don't know if I was born this way or if environmental factors flipped a switch, but my brain is tuned differently. Here are the objective facts of my life. When I drank alcohol to soothe that anxiety or fill that boredom, the immediate result was that I wanted more. I wanted to prolong the effect. I wanted to enhance it. But taking that second, third, or fourth drink essentially never gave me the result I was chasing. It frustrated me. But did that stop me? No. I doubled down. I drank even more. And for years, I used sheer willpower to overcome the desire to drink more. I wasn't getting blackout drunk every time, but I sure did sometimes. But over the fullness of time, a terrifying certainty emerged. My willpower became less and less able to prevent me from drinking more than I knew I should. My life became defined by a twofold struggle. First, the struggle to avoid taking that first drink. And second, the struggle to avoid taking the next drink once I had started. It was a juggling act. I was trying to keep it all together, my career, my family, my facade, and it left me precious little time for anything else. No time for personal growth, no time for real engagement with the people I loved. It was a miserable experience, and it bubbled over, affecting everyone around me. But even that misery wasn't enough to make me give up what I thought alcohol was doing for me. I was terrified to lose my only tool. I was eventually pushed by external consequences to give quitting a try. I went for more than a year with no alcohol. I white-knuckled it. I thought sobriety would fix everything. But the problem was the anxiety, the boredom, and the loneliness were still there. I felt like I stood out like a sore thumb. I felt, woe is me. I felt like a victim because I couldn't use the one tool I knew would work. Finally, I reached a screw it moment. A voice in my head whispered that after a year sober, surely I could handle it now. Surely it wasn't that bad in the first place. So I added a small amount of alcohol to a large amount of club soda, and I immediately wanted more. The jig was up. I realized two things in that moment. This version of me couldn't live without alcohol, but I couldn't use it without it controlling and enslaving me. This was the turning point. Instead of feeling hopeless, a door miraculously opened. I was forced to revisit my conviction that alcohol was the only tool I had to make my life work. If alcohol was off the table, then it was time to discover and utilize something else. I had to find new tools. I familiarized myself with the experiences of others who had faced this exact dilemma, people who had found solutions that were actually working. I found that most individuals freely shared what worked for them. Taking their recommended actions required discipline, willpower, and often a leap of faith. Some tools worked, some didn't. But enough of them work that I found that my reasons to drink, that need to relax, to quell anxiety, to connect, now had other workable solutions. Along the way, I have come to learn that the reason for my struggle was not moral weakness. It was neurophysiology. Whether your term for this is a disease, a medical condition, or a quirk of nature is irrelevant. The central fact for me is that I cannot properly inhibit my use of alcohol once it is introduced into my body. I am grateful to have learned this, because the new tools I use today are infinitely more effective than alcohol ever was. They require me to address the root cause of my problems, offering real solutions instead of just temporarily obscuring them. The final product is freedom. I have a reservoir of energy now that is much fuller than anything I had during those last decades of drinking. Life has ceased to be an endurance contest. It has become an adventure. So here's my message for you today. There are good reasons to drink. I won't deny it. If your drinking is well controlled and leaves you with no regrets, then that temporary vacation for life for you is a rational choice. But if you're like me, if you find that alcohol is taking more from your life than it is giving, then I want you to consider two crucial facts. First, change is possible. You can remove alcohol from your life. Second, you probably aren't equipped to do that right now. That isn't an insult, it is science. Most people who quit using only willpower return to drinking within 6 months to a year. That statistic isn't there to make you feel hopeless. It's there to show you that you need new tools. If you try to build a house using only a hammer and it falls down, it doesn't mean the house is impossible to build. It means you need a new set of tools, a saw, a drill, a level. You will never know how good your life can be until you quit long enough to gain mental clarity and acquire these new tools. To help those of you committed to real change, I've constructed a 90-day sobriety survival kit. It's designed to help you change the way you think about alcohol and provide a blueprint for action. I've included a link in the description below. Most people can get away with drinking alcohol. I could not. The important question for you becomes, can you? I'm Dr. Donald Crow, and thanks for watching. Oh, and if you're in those dreaded 60s or 70s decades, the ones I know all too well, and you think it's impossible to teach an old dog new tricks, I encourage you to watch this video on your screen next. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next one.